Hi, happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How y'all doing? How was your weekend? I think we had our first snow flurries today. I guess we had a couple of weeks ago, but I live in New York City and it's been such a funny winter here. Usually we have so much snow and a lot of cold snaps. I think this weekend we're dropping into something like 5 degrees, but so much of this winter has been relatively mild outside of right over the Christmas holiday break. It's been like in the 40s and 50s, which for this time of year is very warm. So interested after our live stream. I'm heading to a spin class, so I've got to venture out and be interested to see what the weather is looking like. So I'm curious, where are you in the world? What is weather like where you're at? Are you having a weird season this season this year as well? And I've got lots to dive into today. We've got a really juicy conversation that it's really interesting. We're talking about the results. What did I name this one? We're talking about the kinds of essential results that don't get talked about more. And it's an interesting conversation because I always pick our live stream topics a few weeks, if not a month or more in advance. And this has come up for clients in many different ways. So I think it'll be really relevant. And I think it's a really important one as both a service provider, if you run a business where you are serving clients, I'm assuming you do if you're here, as well as on the client side of things. So we're going to have a great conversation around that. Before we do, things to let you know, free fun things for you. So we always do a giveaway on each of these live streams. I know there's so many places you could hang out online. I love you. I love this group. I really care about this community. I want to thank you for being here every week. So we do a giveaway. All you have to do is say hi, leave a comment below. And this week we are giving away one copy of my 6-week self-study sales course, Sell Out Without Feeling Like a Sellout. It walks you through the clarity, mindset, strategy, and action of mastering the art and strategy of sales. Can't get words out of my mouth today properly, but of selling without the ick. So selling with integrity and being able to sell effectively so that you can make those 10K, 20K, 100K months is what I've used in my business to get fully booked and to make multi six figures, as well as what I've supported my clients to make far more money than me. So I think it's a really great course. I think something that we could sell for far more than we do. If you don't win, you can access it for only $99 because we want you to have access to this. I think sales are so important in your business. But if you leave a comment, you'll get entered to win. We pick one winner. We will reach out to you by the end of the week to let you know if you've won and send that over to you. You can still leave a comment if you already have the course, or if it's something you don't need, we're happy to send it, to send it on to someone else. So don't feel like just because of the giveaway you can't comment. I love getting to have a conversation and to answer your questions when we're doing these things, when we're doing these lives. The other giveaway fun thing for you to know that is a limited time offer, I think I shared a couple weeks ago, and without going too far into all the details, I think everyone knows there's just a lot of noise in our space right now and a lot of mistrust of the coaching industry and are people who they say they are, all the smoke and mirrors. I think there's just a lot of confusion, rightfully so. And I'm wanting to put my money where my mouth is. And I really believe in this industry. This industry has changed my life, both as a client and on the service provider side. Coaching has changed my life in every single way, literally every way. So I want to put my money where my mouth is. I am opening up my fully booked calendar to you with free mini coaching sessions. We've been offering them around sales, and I shared this on Instagram yesterday. What's been really fascinating is everyone who's booked those calls, I'd say almost everyone has wanted or needed support with their message, with their messaging, with their words that sell. So I want to hear from you if that is feeling like maybe it's the area you want more support around. It happens to be one of my zones of genius and one of my superpowers that, as I look through my client roster, has helped so many of my clients when we take a look at their words, at their messaging, specifically being able to help them tap into their zone of genius and then put words around it that actually make sense so people actually understand what the F it is they do. And so that they can put that out there, confidently own, take up space around their work in a way that allows them to go from like barely being seen or having a handful of clients to getting fully booked, scaling to 800K years, $1 million plus years. In fact, I have a lot of clients who come to me who are making around 6 figures. And one of the things that I really believe catapults a business owner is taking a look at your messaging, taking a look at what are the words you were using at the start of your business, it's very likely you have changed and grown a lot and gotten a lot more data and information about your people and what it is they need and what it is you're selling, and really doing a revival or refresh of their messaging and honing that in, sharpening that up. And I've seen how that's taken clients from kind of like feeling like they're stuck almost at 10K months. Not that that's a bad thing, but really allowed them to jump into multi six figures and up to $1 million plus. In fact, one of my clients, that is literally the work we did to have them go from, they've been stuck at about six figures for years and blew up to 100K months and $1 million per year, and like got on some really big stages. And this was the main lever we played with, was kind of taking their good content, their good words that were very kind of what everyone else says, and that were just sort of like, I don't know, they were just like one of many, and really helping her to tap into that kind of edgy, unique opinion she had and feel safe and okay owning that. It blew the shit out of her business in a very positive way. Anyway, so I will drop a link for you, but we're gonna see if this is what you want. I'm offering these for you. To put my money where my mouth is, yes, but really I wanna be of service to you and be able to support you, meet you where you're at. So we're gonna switch up that free call to a message up level strategy session. I do think this is going to be best for people who already have a business, who have already been, putting themselves out there a little bit. If you're brand new to business, of course we can play around with this, but we're gonna be playing a little bit more of a guessing game. So I will drop, let me see, I think I can drop a link now, and I'll drop a proper link, but there's a link below if you want more details. I am fully booked, so we have spots open up from time to time, but this is the easiest way to get on my calendar and to, for free, see what it's like to work with me and see if we're a fit for one of those spots as they become available. Okay, now let's dive into our combo. I think I got all the fun things out of the way for us, and I want to chat. I want to chat results, and I want to chat the really essential results for you as both a client and a service provider that don't get talked about nearly enough, or why they don't get talked about more. And we're going to really dive into those two kinds of transformation, how they work together and support one another, and allow my clients to get results like we're talking about, right? To get the results like going from barely having any clients to fully booked, replacing their corporate income, making $800K a year, making $1 million plus a year, right? These two types of results are what allow, or these two types of transformation, I should say, are what allow for those kinds of results in every single business we're going to dive into. And I want to highlight why this isn't talked about more, why that isn't wrong, why people are not trying to hide things from you or manipulate you, but why it's important to understand on both sides as the client and service provider. So you're not making yourself wrong, but you can also avoid self-sabotage on either side, because this is a place, I mentioned this came up for quite a few clients in different ways, and this is a way I see is very easy to sabotage yourself, again, on either side, client or service provider. And I'm also going to share some of my perspective on both sides, and I'll share an example as a client and the two types of transformation, how they've really worked together and allowed me to have a business that is fully booked, that is making multi six figures, that's made $1 million revenue in the last 4 years from a one-on-one coaching model, and that is set up to scale to collapse that timeline year over year. And I think it's really important to hear this, and I hope that this is helpful and valuable for you. So one of the things I shared, if you're on my email list, if you saw the blurb around this, is I shared some recent results. And I'm going to share these with you for a reason. I'm not just trying to like throw a bunch of numbers in your face, but I want to share these with you so that I can explain the context behind them. And then we'll break down these two types of transformation. So I shared consistent 30K cash months, working 12 client hours per week. I mean, that's amazing, right? Closing a 250K deal that is set up with the potential to bring in millions with an S. Having their first 94K year, so almost six figures, working 3 days per week, part-time hours in those 3 days, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. My clients always blow my mind. They like blow my results out of the water. And getting approved for a home loan based on their business revenue alone, making their first 10K month and turning that into their new normal in business after feeling like they were on the struggle bus and literally probably spent half of our calls just so frustrated, and also just having a really hard time showing up, being consistent, like vocalizing what their work was about, everything we were talking about with that free call. So those are some pretty incredible client results, I think. I think we can all agree with that. And I think what's really interesting about those results are those are all results I've heard about in the last few weeks that came from past clients. So clients I've worked with previously who we've completed our work together. We had a great working relationship. I love to stay in touch with my clients. Many of my clients, I'd say 80% made up stat of my clients renew and work with me for a minimum of a year. Many of them work with me for 3 or 4. I think I have clients who have been with me now for 4, maybe even 5 years at this point. I have to look at that. But these are clients who I've worked with in the past. So it's been, a hot second since I've worked with them. And these clients reached out to me because we have stayed in touch to thank me for our past work when they weren't getting these results, for all of the intangible results they got that we worked on together that allowed them to continue to take what we've worked on and set them up for these really big tangible results. And really gave them that foundation to springboard off of. And that's the piece I really want us to dive into today, because what I think happens so often, I'm just checking to make sure there's no comments. Hopefully y'all can see this. This sometimes happens where I put this in the wrong place, but I think we are, oh, weird. I did this this is actually very funny. I'm going to go right back, but I am live, but I'm wondering if I'm not live properly in the group because I have this as an event. I think it's fine. Y'all let me know when you can hear this. If not, we'll figure it out afterwards and I'll talk to myself, but hopefully you can hear this. Please do not ever hire me to help you figure out how to set up your Facebook Live. I feel like this is like the ongoing running joke that I've like pretty much manifested at this point, that every week I'm like trying to figure this out. But I see that there's some people watching, so let me know if you can see this, and I think we've got this set up correctly. But this is what I really wanted to talk about today, because I think so often in our online space, what happens is we only hear those numbers, right? Those very tangible results, which are important to share. And I think they're celebration worthy. And gosh, I'm so proud of those clients. But we hear those without the context, and we hear those without the transformation that allowed for those results to occur. And it's then very, very easy on the buyer, potential client, or if you're a client in another container side, to make yourself wrong when you're not getting the same, when you're not making 30K a month working 12 hours a week, right? Or 12-hour client hours. I don't know if that's actually per week, but just to use that as an example. Or when you're not signing and closing a 250K deal that you're just going to be able to rinse and repeat to make millions and millions of dollars, right? It's very easy when you're looking at like, but I'm just getting clear on my offer, or I'm just getting clear on my messaging. I booked Kim's message up level session. Like, fuck, like that's all I've done. Or I've been in this 6-month container and all I've done is figured out a sales process and some messaging and like got confident enough to start being consistent online. Right? It's very easy if that's where you're at to make yourself really wrong and to think you're screwing up and to think you are so far away from the results you're hearing about online. And what I think is really important to start to understand is that there are 2 types of transformations that are behind every tangible result you hear. There are the intangible transformations and the tangible transformations, right? There are the intangible results and the tangible results. There is, for every client that I share with you, that I say like, hey, this client replaced their corporate income in 3 months. This client scaled to 800K a year in 2 years of our work together, from 0 to 800K, right? That's a very tangible result. And behind that, what you don't always hear are all, and I do my best to share this, but like you don't always hear this from me or from anyone else, all of the very intangible transformations that make that tangible result possible. So for example, some of these clients, especially I think what's helpful to hear are these past clients, because it's almost easier when someone continues to work with me over and over again, like keeps renewing to really see those intangible results. But I think what's helpful with these client examples I'm sharing with you here is those are past clients, right? And the results, in air quotes, that they got from working with me might have looked like I got really locked in on how to articulate what my zone of genius is and how to actually feel good in it and own my power around that and unapologetically put that into my content and show up consistently and have an offer I really believe in and feel really great selling that and have learned how to convert that and booked 1 or 2 clients. That's great. I mean, but most of those are intangible results, right? The clarity and some of the mindset there around taking up space and owning your work, and then some of that strategy there. But those aren't necessarily the things when you are dropping some big money for a coaching container where you're like, no, I want to put this money down so that I can have the 800K year or the $1 million year or the 6-figure year, whatever is true for you. And so I think it's very easy then to, if you're that person on the client side, to be in that place you're like, I did all of these great things, and to start shitting on yourself, right? To start making yourself wrong. And that's why I want to specifically share those results, because all of those clients, well, they absolutely got tangible results as well while we were working together. They booked clients, they made more money. I'd say the majority of my clients who are working together, the big catalyst for their big leaps, for their big transformation, for what they reached out to thank me for, and to like, I mean, I cry when I get, you all know me, I'm a crier. But I've gotten some beautiful emails from past clients that have brought me to tears, because I even forget sometimes, and I really believe in the power of intangible results and how intangible results are the catalyst for tangible results, but I forget sometimes that clients remember that as well, and that it's so often the very intangible results and work that really hit home and transform someone, one of your clients, and allow them then to reach out to thank me, right, for those tangible results. But it's all of the intangible results under that they're actually usually thanking me for. And I think that is the piece that is just, Sarah says, LOL, you're laughing at my tech abilities. And I think that is the piece that is, it's just, I think, challenging to understand until you've been on the other side of it enough, especially if you're in on the client side. I think, well, I honestly, I think this happens on both sides. I've supported multiple clients. All my clients are going to think I'm talking about them, but I've supported multiple clients over the past week or two that have been kind of stressed out because they're seeing clients of theirs not getting the tangible results they want for their clients, that they know are possible for their clients. And we've had to do so much work to untangle that and to help them see that they're not doing anything wrong, just like their clients not doing anything wrong. Their clients exactly where they're meant to be in their journey. And as the service provider, because I have clients who are coaches and designers and who are OBMs and lawyers and writers and, I mean, all sorts of service providers, right? Their job is to meet their client where they're at, and yes, help them ultimately get those tangible results, whatever that might be. If you're a relationship coach, maybe the tangible result is a healthier, happier marriage or a lower divorce rate, right? Of course, like those are the results you're ultimately supporting your clients to, and that's the promise you can't promise, but what you are delivering. But when you're on the service provider side, and what I've had so many clients just be really spun out around, is it can start to make you also doubt your own work or feel really wrong about what you're doing, or think like maybe you're not good enough, or they picked the wrong container, or you're like marketing incorrectly. And what I've just seen to be true over and over again is it is the intangible results. It is the internal transformation, right? The inside out work. We talk so much about that is the catalyst for the tangible external result. And you can't have one without the other. I mean, you can have the intangible internal result, I guess, and not get the tangible result if you sabotage and spin yourself out and decide you're doing something wrong. But unless you're doing that, your tangible results are pretty much inevitable. And that's just what I've been in business 7 years this upcoming March, so almost 7 years. I've just seen this I've just been around long enough, and I've just been in this business and supporting clients on enough calls long enough just to see that to be the case. So it's just a lot easier for me to be very grounded and very neutral around that. And I think one of my superpowers as a coach is, I was telling one of my clients this the other day, I care so deeply about my clients and their results that I'm willing not to care about where they're at and the results they're getting in the moment, so that I can detach a little bit and just meet someone where they're at and really support them with whatever is going on without making them or myself wrong, because I just simply know it's a part of the process and a part of the journey, and what allows anyone to get those intangible transformations and results that lead to the inevitable tangible results. Hopefully this is all tracking. And so this is, again, what I support my clients with as well on the service provider side, because I do find that it's, especially if I'm blessed, right? I've been doing this for 7 years and all I do is one-on-one. So I see the behind the scenes of my clients and their businesses. And I've also been doing, I work only in like long-term, like I'm very close with my clients. I joke them like all up in their shit, and they can't get rid of me in their business when we're working together. And so this means I also really get to see those transformations and what's really happening for people. And so I get to see what is kind of behind those big pop moments and results really closely, really intimately. So I know the like actual nitty gritty work that's happening. So it's easier for me to tell you this, and it's probably easier for me to be a little bit more, I don't know, neutral, unhooked. Detached is maybe the wrong word, because I hope this is coming across the right way. I do care so incredibly deeply for my clients and their outcome and their results, just like I do for all of you in this group. It's more just a ability to like, it's sort of like how I imagine, I'm a stepmom, but how I imagine those of you who are parents for, I mean, this is the way I feel about my stepson as well, but for your kids, where you care about your kids so much and their outcome so much that you're willing to not be a helicopter parent and not smother them and not be like so up in their business that you're like trying to like hurry up their process, so that when they're an infant, you're not like, why aren't you running yet? You're just like, oh, they're an infant. Great. They're exactly where they're meant to be. And my job is to keep supporting them where they're at and not make this wrong. And then when they're learning to crawl, right? Your job is to like create a safe environment for them to learn to crawl, and to like not be all up in their face, like wondering why they're not running marathons and winning them yet. And if they do start running marathons when they're older, just letting them be exactly where they're at, being there to support them, helping them, but not trying to control the outcome or rush them along. And so that's kind of the role I see for all of us as service providers, where it's that healthy caring, that healthy creating a safe container, or, creating a space for someone without trying to control and smother and like rush someone along. Because what I find is when we're trying to rush someone along, because we need those external results, right? We want those tangible results for our kids or for our clients. So often this says a lot more about the person on the service provider side, right? This tends to be very ego driven, and this is not to make anyone wrong at all. All of you are brilliant at what you do, and I know everyone is coming in with the best intention, and I think this is just a deepening into your work, whatever it is you're doing, to be able to hold that sort of attached detachment. So please, no one hear this as me like I'm not calling anyone out at all. And I think it's just something really important to start to be aware of and to start to cultivate and to start to lean into, and something I support my clients around a lot on the service provider side for them is how can they really lean into that attached detachment, where they do care, and they do hold that container in space, and they do support without trying to control and manipulate and rush someone along, because they want them to get those tangible results. Because ultimately, when we're in a place as a parent or as a service provider and we're trying to pressurize results, it tends to be more about our own personal ego, right? It tends to be more about our insecurities or our fears or our worry. Like, are they going to renew with us, or are they going to keep paying us, or are they going to go on the internet and say how much they hated the design you created for them because you didn't give them the next level design that blew up their business to $1 million, when the truth maybe is that they're a newer business owner who didn't have all of the information about their business and their offer and their ideal client yet, because that's where they're at in the journey, and you met them where they're at and created a design with the information, like you co-created together, that really made sense for where they're at. And I'm using this as a random example, but I know this can come up for designers a lot, right? And I think it's so easy then to, as again, the service provider, to want to get your ego wrapped in that, as opposed to just seeing like, how can we as business owners temporarily put our ego to the side? We all have an ego. It is fine. It is part of the human condition, right? But put it to the side. So instead, the focus is all on how can I meet the person in front of me and where they're at, and make where they're at completely right and correct, but also be there to keep supporting them with whatever the next step is, right? To create that growth, but to know that so often growth, and the kind of growth that is sustainable, that leads to really big results, whether that is branding that blows someone's business up, or copy that like stands out and sells a course to 100K launch in from 3 emails, or coaching that allows you to transform your inner dialogue and figure out how to talk about your work in a way that sells so that you can get booked out and make six, 7 figures, right? Whatever we're talking about here. The truth is all of those, again, results, I know I'm a broken record here, but all of those tangible results get their start with the internal, intangible transformation that stacks upon itself to create that external outcome that we all get to see in marketing. I really hope this is tracking. So I think that's like the big piece I want to help everyone get clear on here, because a couple things here. I want to talk about why this isn't talked about more in marketing, because it's not, and then also how to avoid sabotaging on either side. So which part do I want to talk about first from this? Let's talk about the marketing side. I think this is important to understand because this is what creates actual tangible results, right? The big benefits you want. And just speaking to the intangible required transformation, the internal required transformation, the non-sexy required transformation and results that are the catalyst for the very sexy external tangible results. If you're only talking about the intangible, you're just making your job so much harder than it needs to be, and particularly in 2023 when it is very loud, it is very crowded. I think it is a beautiful thing that it's crowded. That means the online space, I keep saying this, right? That means there are more people here. That means it's getting normalized. That means that there are more options for people. That means people want to buy online. That means it's becoming, safer for people to trust people online. When I started my business 7 years ago, it is like I was a weirdo with 3 horns and, I don't know, an antenna coming out of my head that I sold coaching online. Coaching was people were like, what's a coach? What does that even mean? So I think it's actually great that it is more saturated. And I think when COVID hit, the online space blew up for obvious reasons. But because of that, right, every light has a shadow side. The shadow side to the positive of having a more saturated marketplace with more options, but also that means more clients and more customers, is it's also saturated and there are a lot of people, which means the kind of marketing that maybe worked 7 years ago, the kind of messaging, this is why I'm on, besides people booking calls with me and telling me they need help with messaging, but why I'm on such a tear about it now that I've heard that and thinking about it. The kind of messaging that worked 7 years ago just kind of isn't cutting it the same way anymore, because so many people are essentially saying the same thing, and so many people are unintentionally, don't think anyone's doing this on purpose, but unintentionally hearing and then not copying, what's being inspired by the words of others, and instead of using their own and pouring those out into the world. And it's all just, it's very homogenous, right? If you look online, everyone knows this, right? We're just hearing a lot of the same. So not only is that the case, right? And so marketing it's just not the same it was seven years ago. 7 years ago, you could write something kind of crap, half-ass, put up a landing page, have an email sequence, right? And that could convert for you. I think we also have, now we have ChatGPT. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. I personally think it's amazing, and I know people don't expect me to think that, but it helped me fix my washer dryer in a minute the other day because I couldn't get it to work. I think it's really smart. It's very interesting. Interested to see more of the business applications. Anyway, I digress. All of that's happening, right? And if that is the noise going on, and we know, even if that weren't the case, right? Even if it weren't saturated, even if there wasn't something like ChatGPT, which is just, I think, going to have more and more things that sound similar going out there. If all of that were not the case, the truth is what compels humans to take action and to move the way we are wired as humans is to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. We are so basic. We are so brilliant. Our brains are beautiful and intelligent, and they're also so fucking basic. And what compels us to buy something are a handful of emotional drivers that are linked to avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, right? And when you're only speaking to the intangible results and transformation, you're not creating enough of or speaking enough to the emotional drivers that propel a human brain to want to get into action for most people. And especially when it's crowded and noisy, right? And you're trying to like stand out online. And you're also not usually then speaking to the very things that spark up the dopamine, the reward center in the brain, the pleasure center in the brain that again motivates action. What we know about, I'm geeking out here, but what we know about dopamine, dopamine is what's released when you do cocaine or when you gamble. It's also when you celebrate and when you practice gratitude. But when that is released, it's the feel good hormone or neurotransmitter, and it activates the reward center in your brain. But what it essentially does is have you feel good, but also tell your brain, go after more of whatever made you feel good. So hopefully that makes sense there. And so there are certain things that are going to spark up someone's reward center. Those things are usually the very tangible results, right? And so if we're speaking to tangible results, we're helping activate someone's brain, right? Into motivation. We're speaking to avoid pain, seek pleasure, right? Here's the pleasure piece. And we are just wired for survival, not for success. We are wired to, how can I run away as far as possible from pain, from threat, from anything that doesn't feel safe, and as close to anything that feels good and pleasurable. That is like human psychology, like if we were to like boil it down as basically as possible. And marketing and sales and business is all human psychology. It's why I'm obsessed with it, y'all, because I love human psychology and I love the mind, right? And when you're speaking to tangible results, when you're speaking to money, when you're speaking to sex, when you're speaking to, I'm trying to think of what other like good tangible results, a happy marriage or a lower divorce rate, right? That's avoiding pain. When you're speaking to those tangible results that are very pleasure driven and make someone feel good and that create that desire, you're also kicking up the dopamine in someone's brain, right? That's why that makes for powerful marketing. And this is why you don't hear as much about the intangible results in marketing. This isn't because every marketer is trying to lie to you or be all smoke and mirrors or is an asshole or is full of shit or whatever people want to say. It's also not because people are trying to like bait and switch. It's because if you're not speaking to those tangible results in your marketing, you're making it harder on your business than you need it to be, because you're missing a lot of the cues and things that create a human motivated like drive. I hope this is making sense. Again, I'm not a neuroscientist or anything here, so this is my understanding of the brain, but I find this to be very, very true when we're looking at psychology and what drives and motivates buying behavior and actions, like a click onto a page. And when we just also take a look at like, why are certain businesses, I think I shared this on the live about my lowest income month. I know, because I know this, for example, I know there are some things I could do honestly if I wanted to that would tap into what we're talking about here, some of the pleasures and some of the things I know are going to activate certain things in someone's brain that could create really powerful marketing and probably blow us up and have us make more money faster. I am not willing to do certain things because they don't feel congruent with who I am or my values. And not even because they're out of integrity. They just don't feel congruent to me as a human or congruent to what I'm selling on the back end. I'm selling one-on-one coaching. I'm selling deep transformational work that is mostly the intangible transformation that leads to the tangible results. I'm selling something that is very personalized. So there are certain I don't even want to call them tactics, because I also don't think it's wrong or bad if other business owners are using those marketing strategies in their businesses. I think it just depends on what you're selling on the back end. I just don't think that's congruent at all to who I am as a person and what I'm selling. And it's very important to me, and I think to every business owner, to have that congruency, to have what's on the back end of your marketing match the wrapping paper you're putting around it online in your emails. So before I go too far off, I love my tangents, but bringing us back here, that's why you don't see as much of the intangibles spoken to in marketing. Now, I personally believe both are really powerful. I'm doing a whole live stream, right? This might not be the sexiest live stream for everyone, but I do think it's actually really important to understand intangible and how the intangible transformations, the unseen so-called, or the internal transformation, are so incredibly important and what literally are the catalysts. Like, you can't have the tangible results without those. And I will speak to that in my marketing, but I'm sure you've probably noticed, if I'm sharing something with you about how a client learned how to hold boundaries, or communicate with their team effectively and delegate really well, or learned how to speak to a client and have a hard conversation, or navigate some sticky money conversations during the sales process, or feel confident enough to really own what they're so good at, unapologetically take up space in their content with that, right? A lot of those are intangible transformations. What I generally tend to do is also help you see how those intangible transformations are a part of what created a 10K month, booking their first paying client ever, having their first six-figure year, growing to multi-six figures, scaling to $1 million, right? I tend to pair the two together. And I'm reflecting that too, because I think otherwise it's very easy on the potential client side to get blindsided by marketing, because not every marketer is in integrity. Hopefully, I think most people are. Honestly, I think the majority of our online space and industry is actually there. It's filled. I've met so many people, just really beautiful, heart-centered, caring people. And of course, not everybody is who they say they are, and there are some problems in our space, and there's very low barrier to entry. So of course, some things are problematic, and sometimes things are problematic without people even intending to be problematic, because they've been taught by people this is the way you're supposed to do things, or they're not aware of the impact it's having. So I think it's important for all of us to remember, depending on where we're at in our business journey, I think it's helpful to give people also compassion for maybe when they're doing things that don't exactly make sense, because everyone's kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Everyone's at a different place in their journey, and there are certain learning curves. But I think this is helpful to understand on the client side, because when you're a potential client, I think it's important to understand the difference between marketing and someone's offer and what they're giving you and what that's actually going to give you, right? It's very easy for us to see great marketing, and I have such a deep respect for great marketing. I spent a couple of years working in the advertising industry here in New York City with some of the best directors and getting to see some of the best agencies and work. And I think it's so creative. It's such an interesting creative talent. I think it's such a creative talent to be able to story tell and sell succinctly. I am not the most succinct, so I'm extra impressed by that. But I think it's such a creative, brilliant talent, and it is its own art form. I think I have such respect for marketing, and marketing is different than the product, right? If we're doing an advertisement for, I'm trying to think of some of the companies we did. Oh gosh, why I can't think of. It's like the end of my client day. What are some products, y'all? Let me look around my desk. Let's say I sell notepads. That's not a good one. iPhones. So let's say I'm Apple, right? The marketing for Apple, the advertising for Apple is brilliant. It is so good. And their marketing is very different than their actual product. Now, I think Apple does a great job of being congruent, of having their marketing match and be congruent to what they're selling on the back end. But as consumers and as potential clients, because it is loud in our space, I think we also have a responsibility on both sides, right? I always say with marketing comes great responsibility, because it does work and it is so powerful and it's so great. But that also means for us as clients and potential clients and buyers, I think there's an opportunity for us to take some power back and to have responsibility as well. And not responsibility like it's your fault if someone is lying, not that at all, but just in terms of how can we start to discern great marketing from a great product or service, and to not make great marketing bad or wrong, but to see it for what it is. Great marketing, great storytelling that compels you to want to buy something is in integrity and is going to be congruent, but it's also going to be compelling, and it's going to do all the things we were just talking about in terms of what it's firing up in your brain and how it's going to make you desire something. And it's going to hit on different psychological triggers for you, right? And it's going to make you want to move to pleasure and away from pain and say, take my money. And that is beautiful. Like, that is great marketing. We're not mad at that. And I think the way you take your power back and the way you don't end up in situations where you're either frustrated at the results you're getting or feeling like you got a bait and switch is understanding the difference between great marketing and a great product or service. Ideally, if we're in integrity, we have both, right? But also understanding why not every business owner is going to be speaking so much to the intangible transformation. Because for many businesses, it's only speaking to the intangible transformation is not going to help them market and do the very thing that helps them sell. And ideally, again, we have great marketing and a great product and service. There is that congruency. And so if you have that congruency and you want to be able to sell your great product or service and you want to have the great marketing, you probably are going to speak a little bit more heavily or at least connect to those tangible results. I really hope this is tracking and making sense. And I say this because then we're not making Apple wrong for their excellent, brilliant, really great, stellar marketing and advertising, right? But we're also not making them wrong because we love their product. But we can't say, well, their product is not the same as that ad I just saw. That girl I saw who was like dancing, like, and she was just like having so much fun. Like, I'm sitting at home and I don't know how to dance, and like, I'm like sad today, like they're lying to me, and like I'm not getting the result I wanted, right? I think like that's where we have to remember the difference between marketing and to the product itself, and to see both can be true. And oftentimes, again, what you're going to see in marketing are more of those tangible external results that are absolutely true and possible, but not always instantaneously. So I think that part is important from both sides, so that as a business owner, as a service provider, because I think what happens, and what I have happened a lot of times when clients come to me, because I work with people who are so heart-centered and so in integrity and so good at what they do, especially if they ever have been burned before by really great marketing and not the congruence, where it's not such a great service on the back end, or that that hasn't matched up. What I find happens is the narrative in their brain is almost like, well, the way I can correct that, the way I can fix that, the way I can make sure that never happens to someone else is by really only speaking to the intangible results in my marketing, right? Like, that's how I can be a good person. That's how I can make this right. Except for when we hear that, what we have to remember is that what happened to them that is unfortunate is there was great marketing and not a great product or service on the other end, right? Like, that wasn't congruent. That means that business owner was out of integrity, out of congruence. That is one of the situations none of you are going to be. But we don't correct that situation. We don't correct a business that has false marketing that's really good and a poor product or service by, if you have a great service, now having poor marketing that is not make it as easy for people to sell or to buy or to understand what it is you do, right? That doesn't actually solve the situation you were in or make that better or fix that for someone else or help someone else avoid that. All that does is make it harder for you to be heard in what we're talking about as a very saturated marketplace. So I hope that part makes sense there, because I know everyone here is heart-centered and they are integrity and they care so much. And I think we just have to be so mindful of, I call it the shadow side of that, right? Like, of how that shadow side can sometimes unintentionally sabotage you in your business, and how on the service provider side, on the business side, if you have a product or service that is what you say it is, that can help people get those tangible results, I'm going to come back to that in a moment, but they can help people get those tangible results. I always say this with sales, but I think of this with marketing as well, which your message and your content and your copy, right? That's all marketing. I think we have to then play with this idea that if you have something that can help people get the intangible and tangible results and ultimately get those tangible results, it is of service to really own that and to speak to that in a way that your people can understand, so that they hear you above the noise and they buy from you instead of the person who's really great at marketing and doesn't have that great product or service that can help people get intangible or tangible results. So I really see that as an opportunity to be of service and to just understand why you might speak to things a certain way depending on where you're talking about things. Again, I like to talk to both. It's just connecting the dots to both so that people aren't lost in the weeds. Because the here's an example that I will give. So I'm going to keep saying this, right? Intangible results create tangible results. But if you're only speaking to intangible results, let's say you are a fitness, nutrition, like health coach. If let's say you're a fitness, nutrition, health coach and you have a workout and you're like, this workout is going to make you have really great energy and sleep really well, and you're going to get in shape. That's beautiful, right? And you're going to get increased lung capacity. What do you call that? A tangible result, but it's not as sexy of a tangible result, right? And then let's say we know that if you start, and it's going to help you start working out consistently so you can get to the gym regularly and sweat it out more and just get into really great shape. So let's say that's what you're speaking to. That's great, but let's say that the people you work with really want the tangible results of, I want to live longer. There's a great I think it's gonna be a great book that talks all about this with nutrition. I think it's really smartly marketed because it's nutrition speaking to living longer. So maybe I'll use that example in a second. But let's say your people really want to have more sex. They want to have better sex more often. If those are the things, like, so they want to get in shape so they can feel more confident and have the energy and feel sexy so that they can have better sex more often. Now let's be honest. As a human, is your brain going to perk up more when you hear that you could have better sex more often, or when you hear you could work out consistently? And if we marry them together, hey, I'm going to give you a workout plan, help you get consistent, and that's going to give you the energy and feel confident so that you can have way more sex that's so much better, that's so much hotter. And like, this is like the silliest example there, right? But of course, when you hear those tangible results, that's going to have your brain perk up. That's going to hit the pleasure center. That's going to hit the dopamine center. That's going to have you pay more attention. And what's happening is people who are great marketers, even if they don't have a great product or service, even if they don't have the great workout plan or the great nutrition plan, they're going to speak to the better sex more often. And so if you're not doing that as well, you're just making it hard for yourself, especially if you're like, but my program's even better and it's so legit and it's so real. And of course, you're gonna like feel so great and have better energy, and that's just gonna make you feel so confident and so good in your own skin. And that, that could definitely have you have better sex more often and feel better. So I think understanding why people aren't always talking about the intangible results as much in marketing, so that you're not getting confused when you're buying, but also so you know how to leverage that when you're selling, when you're marketing, is really important. And I think also understanding then as a client and service provider, this is the last piece I wanted to speak to, so that you're not unintentionally sabotaging your results as a client or your client's results, is a little bit of what we were talking about before. I think it's then important to remember marketing is its own thing. The product or service is another. And when you're in the product or service, it's always going to meet you where you're at in your personal journey. So if we go with the workout to have better sex more often, if I enter into that and I'm single and I don't have anyone, maybe I shouldn't be talking about sex online, but here we have it. I'm not like, that doesn't feel safe to me or good to, let's actually use, I feel like maybe I should choose a different topic. So let's just we'll use, I can't think of his name. Is it Mark Hyman? He's a functional medicine doctor, and he has a book coming out on, I think it's like Live Longer. But what he talks about is functional medicine and nutrition. And I think his marketing is really smart. And I think what he has on the back end, right? Marketing is great and it's congruent too. He's got a ton of experience. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to use food as medicine, right? He's got that down. But his marketing is smart because all of his marketing hits on the pleasure drives we have as humans. And he talks a lot about how using food as medicine to live longer, to look better, right? Like all the things, like we're simple as humans. So And so let's just say I buy his book, right? It's going to help me live longer. But I buy his book and I've been eating junk food for the last 10 years, drinking nothing but Coca-Cola all day every day, and I like pick up this book and I read it and I'm going to implement one recipe one time. It's not that that book is false or that it didn't give me the result. It's just that I'm in a different place in my journey and I'm just starting to make a shift and I'm getting an intangible result, which is probably something like I'm starting to get a mindset shift. I'm starting to create some awareness. I'm starting to take the first small step towards change. And then maybe after I make that recipe, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I start to swap out my Coca-Cola for water. I have no idea what's in his recipe books, by the way, but and maybe then I start to add more spinach to my diet, right? And start to blend that into some smoothies, right? But on the outside, I don't necessarily look any younger. I don't feel any younger. But what's happening on the inside, all of those intangible results, I've created massive awareness. I've started to love myself more. I've started to care about what I put into my body. I've stopped treating my body like trash, right? I'm starting to get more energy. There's all of these internal changes. And those will keep happening if I stay with this book or this program to give me those very tangible results of looking younger, living longer, whatever the sexy tangible results are on the other side. And I think that's really important again for us to see, because where I see sabotage happen is on the client side. You get this program and it's working. All of those internal transformations are happening. All of those intangible results are happening. And then it's very easy to say, but I'm not getting what that book or that program promised me. That promised me I would look younger, I would feel younger, I would live longer. Like, I'm looking in the mirror, I look exactly the fucking same I did from yesterday. And we do this in business, right? Like, I signed up for this program that said I could make $1 million, or that said I could, I don't know, what are some other business results we hear? I talk about getting booked out, right? That said I could get booked out, and like, I don't see any clients, right? Meanwhile, there's all of these internal, intangible results happening behind the scenes. Maybe you're getting clarity on your offer. Maybe you're getting clear on how to talk about your work in a way people actually understand. Maybe you're working your mindset and actually overcoming yourself and your limitations and your fears so you can start showing up consistently. All of these shifts are happening, and both with the fitness example and the business example, you and I on the outside looking in can see like, oh, well, if someone just sticks with those long enough, those tangible results are inevitable. And those intangible results are what give them the tangible results. But on the client side, and this is where people get in their own way and sabotage, when we don't see the tangible results we think we're supposed to have or that are promised, that we're spoken to in marketing, right? We think we're doing something wrong. We think we're screwing up. We think there's something wrong with the program. We think there's something wrong with the container. We think we've made the wrong investment. We think we suck. We think we're not cut out to be business owners. We're not cut out to be healthy. Fill in the blank, right? Whatever we're trying to do. If it's a relationship program, right? We're going to be single forever. We're never going to meet the love of our life. Like, we suck at dating. We just start making ourselves wrong because most people are very hard on themselves, or we make, right? We either, like, what happens when we're frustrated? We either tend to put it outwards on others. We project, deflect, right? We either like bury it into the sand, or we project on other people. The program sucks. I hate that program. It's a lie. Or we bring it internally, right? I suck. I'm never going to get the results I want. And so really helpful to see that, because so many of my clients have also helped them unwind past investments they've made where they were convinced they made a horrible investment. And when we look at it, they made a beautiful investment that gave them a lot of really powerful intangible results that they're now starting to see the tangible results from. They just hadn't connected the dots that, oh, that past investment gave me those intangible shifts and results. I just needed some time, because that's just where I was at in my journey. I was the equivalent of, I was drinking like Coca-Cola every day and had to make those shifts, and that's not wrong. That's just where you're at in your personal journey. Like, that's just where I was at in my business journey. And when they can see that, they can make the program right, but they can make the investment right. They can heal that story they have around the money and the investment, but they can also give themselves credit to stick with whatever those shifts are to get the results today. And the moment you start making something, and this is not to say gaslight yourself if there's actually something you've invested. If there's marketing and the offer does not match, that is not okay. That is not cool. That is called being out of integrity. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about marketing that matches the offer, where those are congruent. I just put on my little sleeve hand. I just realized I put that up. but it makes it easier for them to forgive themselves and have healing around those investments, but also then to stay with some of those internal intangible transformations so they can speed up their present day internal intangible transformations for those tangible results. And then similarly on the service provider side, this is what I was talking about a little earlier that I support clients with so often. It's a way that's very, very easy to sabotage your own business and your clients' results without meaning to. No one does this on purpose, but it's the ego part we were talking about. It's the helicopter parent part we were talking about. It's the want to control and need to see those external tangible results from a client so you can feel good, so you can trust your business, so you can trust what you're doing is working, so that you can make money, so that you can brag about them online, right? And again, I just, half of my clients go through, like, this is so not calling anyone out. This is a normal, I think this is a normal part of what our brain kicks up. I think it is an insecurity that gets kicked up. I think there's so many factors. We don't need to psychoanalyze why this happens. I think our online space feeds this as well. It's more to highlight that this happens so that you can create awareness around it and see if that's happening. That's fine. You're human. The opportunity, if you notice your ego getting kicked up, and by ego, I mean, like, I like the way we talk about in psychology, not that you're being an egomaniac, but in terms of like the fear, the insecurities. If you notice that's coming up and you're feeling this want to pressurize clients in a container, like hurry them up or like think they're the wrong client. This is the way we push away great fit clients because we think they're not great fit clients because they're not getting results, tangible results fast enough. We're going to go into meddle, or we don't sleep at night because we're up stressing about it, right? If that's happening for you, the win here is simply noticing that that is a way you can sabotage your own business, and to notice it, to notice you're human, but then to just simply do the mindset work around that, whether that's self-coaching or going to your coach or going to your mastermind, so that you can unwind that, so you can unwind whatever stories are under that, because usually it has less to do with what's going on with your clients and more to do with what's going on in your brain and all the things that are under that, right? Just so you can unwind that, so you're not taking that and then unintentionally sabotaging a client relationship or getting, I don't know if it's necessarily, we'll call it codependent, but like getting a little controlling or helicoptery in that way. Or just putting pressure, or if you're not putting pressure on the container, just putting pressure on yourself and making yourself wrong, or deciding that, oh my gosh, I have the wrong clients and I now need to go try to find a whole different kind of client who's always going to get tangible results right away and never have to go through the process of getting intangible to tangible results. So I think those are just great places on both client and service provider side to notice, so you're not sabotaging either way, so you're not making things wrong, so that on either side you can allow client or yourself to be exactly where you're meant to be in the journey. And that does not mean we are meant to be where we're at in the journey and we stay stuck. It means when you allow yourself to be right for where you're at and allow yourself to keep taking steps forward with whatever the program, the course, the coaching, the container, the service is, that's going to allow you to keep moving forward, to keep getting the intangible results that, again, kind of add up to those tangible results. Okay. I've got one last thing I was going to share here. I hope this is helpful for y'all. I hope this is normalizing and helpful. And let me know if you have comments, questions, reflections. Last thing I wanted to share here, I said I would share my own example on the client side. I hope this is helpful to hear. I've shared this before, but I think it's helpful in the context of this conversation. I've worked with my coach for 4.5 years. We're going into our 5th year now. I renewed with her. I think she's one of the best coaches in the industry. She's definitely the best coach for me. I think that's the thing with coaching. It's coaching chemistry, right? Like, the best coach for me might not be the best coach for someone else. I am the best coach for my clients, but I might not be for other people. There are people who would like hate working with me. So we have great coaching chemistry, and I think she's really good at what she does, and she's been great at what she does from day one. And our first 6 months of working together, I got so many intangible results, so many internal shifts. I'd say that was the most powerful, potent 6 months of our work together. I don't know if that's really fair, because I think all of our work is powerful, and I think I'm a really good coaching client. But it was really important, that work. But my tangible results were very minimal. I think maybe, I'd have to look this up. I think maybe I booked one client, maybe I booked 2, but in terms of like the investment and in terms of the business I have now, we make multiple six figures. We made $1 million revenue in 4 years. We made 700K in the last 2 years alone from one-on-one, right? I've been booked out for 4 years. So this is about almost 5 years ago, 4.5, 5 years. Maybe I've been booked out for 4.5 years. Anyway, that doesn't even matter. Those kinds of tangible results, those kind of external metrics were not visible in the first 6 months. In fact, it kind of didn't even look like I was on the track for that. It looked like I was kind of on track for like, yeah, to like maybe book a couple clients, maybe make six figures, but I don't even think it looked like I was on track for six figures at that point. And what I can reflect and what I'm so grateful for is I'm so grateful to myself for understanding the power of internal intangible results and really understanding the benefit of that and holding those with equal weight, if not more weight, than tangible results. I mean, I love the tangible results. Like, I'm human. Let's not get things twisted. And of course, that's what I want from my business, but the intangible results are priceless. Those are what give me the quality of life. Those are absolutely what allowed me to and have continued to allow me to create the tangible results. And I'm so grateful to myself at that point for being someone who has always just been very invested in knowing, like, I'm willing for things to take, I'm here for quick results, but I'm willing for things to take the time they need to, but also that intangible, like knowing the power of intangible results. I'm also really grateful to my coach because I can't know her personal life experience or like what her experience was on the coach side, but I never felt pressure from her. I never felt her rushing me along. And I never felt where she was like, Kim, why the fuck aren't you booking more clients? Like, all my clients are making $1 million. Like, why aren't, like, to this day, she has clients who make far more than me. I don't feel like she's pushing me along or trying to push me into another business model or trying to hurry up my process or hurry up where I'm at in my journey or hurry up what I want for my life, right? I don't feel any of that like helicopter mom energy at all. And I think it was on both sides, right? My ability to see like intangible results are as valuable, if not more valuable than tangible, and they're a part of it. And I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, and I'm so grateful. Like, I can just see the massive exponential growth, but also on her side that I think really have made me want to stay in that container, right? I renewed. It was such a no-brainer. I'd say that was more of a no-brainer. Not that it's not a no-brainer now, but like it was more of a no-brainer then because I was just so aware of how essential that support was. And it's, again, what over time, just like the clients who emailed me about all of those beautiful wins I was sharing, right? Like, that's what led to those tangible results. So I wanted to share that because I thought maybe it'd be helpful to hear on the client side, as someone who's also on the service provider coach side quite a bit. And yeah, I'm very grateful to both sides. And I think had that pressure been there in the first 6 months, it's really interesting to think about. I don't think I would have renewed for sure. I also wonder, I mean, I'd like to think I'm pretty strong-willed and I'm pretty determined and I would have found a right fit for me, but I'm sure that would have derailed me a little bit if I had felt that pressure, like had me, I mean, who knows, but luckily that's not the case, but I don't think that would have facilitated growth in a positive way. If nothing else, it would have maybe created some like stagnant energy and momentum and movement in myself and in my business. So I hope hearing that is helpful and this can help you reflect on, again, wherever you're at in whatever investments you're making, and making yourself right if you're seeing more intangible than tangible results, or if you're seeing tangible results, because of course that's what we all want. I really invite you to look at what are all the intangible results that have led to that tangible result. If you're on my email list, you know we started posting this in the group as well. We share my client celebrations, and then I shared the wins under the wins. And the reason I do that is I want you to see all of the intangible results that lead to those very tangible monetary wins or client wins or booking a TED Talk or something like that wins. And so I invite you, if you are like in a phase of business of where you're at in your business journey, is like things are kind of popping, I invite you to look at those intangible results, so that you can apply that knowledge to the next part. Maybe business is going well, but like you're going to go on a fitness journey. Like, I think it's helpful to be able to take that and transfer that over and see, that's right, I started with intangible that led to tangible. But the other thing I think is really useful if you do that, little fun hack, this is something I walk my clients through, is you'll also start to see the mechanisms that really work for you. A lot of times the intangible results and shifts are the very things that, like, when you lean into them, help those big tangible results. So you'll start to see, like, oh, this is my personal, like, blueprint for, like, the levers I can press to keep getting bigger and bigger tangible results. So I hope that is helpful. Just checking my notes. I think that is everything. Let's see here. I mean, I have so many notes that I never actually read, but I think we covered all of the things I wanted to share with you. So I hope this is valuable. I would love to hear from you if you have questions come up around this, if you have any reflections around this. Allow this to make yourself right on both sides, and allow this to also inform your marketing, and so that you're not pulling back on speaking to the things that do help someone to make that buying investment decision that to propel them into action. But also you can also play with, if it is important to paint more of a full picture, right? For me, that feels very congruent. It feels an integrity. Just understanding how you can take those intangible results and celebrate them in your clients or in your work or in your program. And just remember to connect the dots to, if you're one of my clients, you're like, Kim, you always say connect the dots to the tangible results, like my favorite note to put in clients' copy. Right, but just remember to connect the dots to that tangible result, so people's brains, our consumer buying brains can hear that and understand that, our lizard brains, so that they're compelled to take action with you. Because if your product and service are congruent to your marketing, right? Like that's the win. It's when they're not congruent in either direction that we have challenges come up in business. And if you would like more support with this, remember, let's see. We've got the free coaching call that I'm offering, the free message up-level strategy session. They are a limited time offer. Well, I think we're going to be able to offer them through February. I am fully booked, so we only can open up a little bit of space on my calendar. So if that's something you want help with, if you're hearing all of what I'm talking about today, and you're like, I would really like some help drilling into this and getting clear on how to talk about how to own my work in a way that is congruent and that's also going to be heard by people in a way that their brains are going to want to take action on, take me up on that call. We do have a coaching intensive that I'm making available this month. So that's a great way to see if we're a fit. And if you're just sort of like him, I've been hanging out with you forever, I want to take you up on the coaching intensive, you can either book that call, a discovery call, or just send me a DM. And then I will be back next week with another topic for y'all. Love you all so much. Bye.